What's up, guys? Welcome back. So, today I want to talk to you about bulking on a budget, right? If you come from a third world country or you're broke, you probably have searched multiple times on YouTube, right? Videos about how to bulk on a budget. And it's usually the same thing that you'll find is influencers that are like living a pretty privileged lifestyle, really disconnected from what eating on a budget actually is. They'll record a vlog going to the grocery store and buying a couple of items, right? Oats, most likely, chicken breast, of course, or chicken thighs. They'll buy maybe some fruit and they'll say, "Oh, I ate this for a whole week." And that's the video, guys. Leave a like, and the video ends there, right? And watching a lot of those videos when I was younger, I realized that they're like influencers usually are pretty disconnected from third world country or people that have a low income. Um, because they buy stuff that you say that's not needed, right? Or you're poorly spending your money. I come from Argentina, so I know what it's like to thinking about the nutrition to cost ratio of foods and trying to find the best um, well, for the least amount of money, right? So I'm here to give you actual advice in terms of that. For those of you that are in your early 20s, that are just moving out of your house or stuff like that, and need to really reduce the costs so you can have a stable environment, right? So you can start um, moving onwards, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of tips, and also I'm going to give you a couple of foods you can try so you can get those gains while on a budget. So before we start with the foods, let's start with the tips. The first one is going to be drop the supplements. Okay, supplements, the ones that work, right? Because there are a lot of supplements, like 99% of the supplements of the fitness industry are just bunk. So of course, drop those out of the get-go. Like even if you have the money to buy them, do not buy them. Why would you buy something that doesn't work, doesn't contribute anything, right? So don't buy that. But the ones that work, drop them. Okay. They usually contribute to like 3% of the results, but they are very costly. They're very high price, especially in my opinion. Okay, protein powder. Contrary to what my name entails, I do not consume protein powder. Right. I prefer other sources. Just starting out of the premise that you don't need that much protein, 0.8 as like tops per gram, 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. You probably have heard this multiple times. Um, so you don't need really protein powder unless you are like following the eating every 2 hours meme or eating 6 meals a day meme, in which you have to get your 30 grams in your 6 meals, otherwise you're going to shrink and look like a DL for the rest of your life, unless you're following that meme. Getting your protein is actually pretty easy. Just get two to one, even one meal. If you want to do one meal a day, you can totally do it. But 2 to 3 meals is probably better. You can probably get like 60 grams on each meal pretty easily, especially if you're bulking because your calorie content is higher, right? So you can even get your protein eating not so high protein foods, right? Uh, so that's starting off with the protein powder. Creatine, I don't know. I have never used it, but most people that have used it said, yeah, it doesn't contribute a lot, but it helps kind of. So yeah, if you're on a budget, of course, don't buy it. If you're buying pre-workout, sorry, you're a fucking idiot. Get coffee. Okay, so drop the supplements. The second one is going to be analyze your other spending habits. You'll see a lot of people that say, "Oh, I can't eat healthy because it's too expensive," right? And then when it's the same that when people say that they don't have the time to work out, sorry, um, you usually see that they're spending their time or their money in some other stuff. Like for example, if it's time, they'll usually spend their time on social media, watching Netflix, stuff like that. And if it is money, they usually spend it going out on the weekends, getting alcohol. Which if you're drinking alcohol, sorry, I must say it again, you're a fucking idiot. Alcohol is fucking poison. So stop drinking it. It's very expensive, first of all. Second of all, it shortens lifespan. I don't know why would you like to do that. And third of all, it fucks up your hormones. So yeah, avoid alcohol as much as possible. The antioxidants excuse won't work. If you want antioxidants, spend that money on blueberries and eat a box of blueberries. You'll get 10, not even 10, like 1,000 times more antioxidants. Okay, so stop with the bullshit. Cut the alcohol, cut the junk food too, because you'll see a lot of people buying junk food on the weekends. And contrary to popular belief, junk food is pretty expensive considering the amount of food you get. Just starting off from there, the nutrition of the food and the protein content of the food. So I would say cut the junk food, cut the alcohol, and you'll have a lot of more money available, right? The third one is going to be conscious about shiny objects, right? You'll see a lot in the diet community, people hyping up foods, usually with selling you supplements intent, right? They'll say, oh, kale is a superfood because it has this amount of nutrients and this amount of antioxidants. Luckily for you, if you don't like kale, I have a supplement that has the exact same things, so go ahead and buy it, right? It is usually related to that. So usually they hype up the amount of nutrition in a certain food, so you go ahead and buy it. And if you don't like the food, they usually sell you the supplements so they can profit from that. So yeah, avoid the shiny foods, the shiny objects, right? The superfoods, the things that will boost your testosterone and burn fat and stuff like that, or increase your metabolism. Find foods that are nutritious but are cheap and they're not overhyped. I would say run from overhyped foods at least until they become like once the hype dies down, you can probably try that certain food, but it is probably just a regular food, right? The fourth one is going to be beware of the ratios, right? The protein to cost ratio and the protein to calories ratio. I think this is pretty important, especially if you're a Greg Doucette follower. I'm not, by the way, but I have noticed that in his recipes he tends to have super high protein regarding the calories, right? Like a high protein percentage regarding the calories. But if you consider the amount of money he spent to make that recipe, well, that recipe putting like fucking egg whites on toast, but it doesn't really matter. You see the amount of money he spent on doing that recipe, on making that recipe, and it's ludicrous. I don't know if that's a correct pronouncement, but it's insane the amount of money you have to spend to replicate Josette's recipes. So yeah, consider too the amount of money you're spending for the amount of protein, right? Then it counts nutrients in terms of fatty acids, right, and micros in terms of vitamins and minerals, right? Again, cost and calories. It doesn't really matter if a food is super high in nutrients regarding its calories, but it's not accessible for your budget. Okay, so consider both money and calories. Prioritize protein, fats, and macros since you can get energy via carbs. Carbs are cheap as fuck, right? So you can get a lot of energy from that. The problem is getting the micros, the protein, and the fatty acids from the foods, which those things are usually the expensive stuff, right? Then the last tip is beware of the quality relative to the price. For example, you'll have a lot of milk brands, right? You'll have like a brand that everyone regards as high quality, another one that they regard as like medium quality, and another one that they regard as low quality or economic quality, right? To avoid hurting some feelings. But it's usually the same milk. That's pretty funny. It's usually produced the same way. It's the same exact milk. The only difference is the label that they put on the milk and the public's perception or the consumer perception towards the product, but it's usually the same thing. So be conscious of those type of foods so you can get the most out of the least amount of money. So with that out of the way, we can start with the foods to bulk on a budget. Okay. The first one is going to be soy products. Of course, I'm going to recommend them. You can get textured vegetable protein, textured soy protein, soybeans, natto. Natto is pretty good because it has like it's fermented soybeans. They're usually super high protein. Soybeans by themselves are like 40% protein, and defatted soy products are usually like 60 to 80% approximately. So they are comparable to a chicken breast or a chicken thigh. They have a super high micronutrient profile. I would equate it to milk. I don't know about the bioavailability of those micronutrients, but they are there, right? And it has calcium. It's They're cheap. Okay, you can get a shit ton of soy, and it doesn't go bad. You can store it in a. You have to store it in the bag in a dry place so it doesn't humidify and develop like uh, bacteria, right? Doesn't develop like it doesn't get contaminated. That's basically it. It's super cheap. Okay, you can get a lot of soy, a lot of protein by minimal amounts of money, and it's insane. When I first like started eating soy, I was like, "There's no way people are not eating this to get jacked, right?" And that is because of the conception that soy will turn you into a femboy, right? It will turn you into a woman. It won't. Okay, Alpha Destiny is a testament to that. The guy, I think he was vegan for a long while, right? Or he eats mostly plants, and he gets most of his protein content, sorry, from soy, and he's fucking jack. He's manly as fuck. So no, soy won't turn you into a femboy. Okay, drop that misconception. Isoflavones, which are usually blamed for the femboy stuff, they actually help with all types of cancer, right? If you see a study that I won't link in the description, if you do your research, you'll see that isoflavones are actually super healthy, and you should incorporate them into your diet, unless you have some genetic predisposition to allergies to soy, right? A lot of people are allergic to soy. I would recommend just don't buy it. Okay, that's a sad thing for you, but yeah, if you can tolerate it, so it's pretty good, and you should definitely incorporate it into your diet. The only issue you'll have to overcome is that you should learn to cook, right? The taste, it's pretty bland, especially the texture stuff. So I would recommend learning how to actually cook it. You can also mix it with meats or other sources of protein that disguise the flavor, right? And one thing you have to keep in mind is that if you're primarily consuming animal proteins, sorry, plant proteins, they're not as high quality and as bioavailable. So they have two cons. First of all, because of the fiber content, I think it makes them pretty hard to extract the protein in your intestine. So you won't absorb as much protein as the protein content that is. I'm saying protein a lot. The protein content that is on the food itself, you won't absorb as much, and the ones that you absorb, they don't have a super high quality. So be mindful of that. It's probably minutia. It's probably like small stuff. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. Protein is protein at the end of the day. So yeah. The second is going to be whole, low fat, or non-fat milk powder. Okay, I would say it's not even a comparison between liquid milk and powdered milk. I would even call powdered milk like a protein shake replacement. If you're a person that struggles to get your calories in, don't buy fucking protein powder. uh, Use to your advantage the fact that you have to consume a high amount of calories, you have to consume high calorie density foods, and get whole powdered milk. It's super cheap because liquid milk, of course, is hard to store. You have to pasteurize it. It has to go through a lot of processes that increase the price, right? And on top of that, how they have to be like stored, and the volume compared to the amount of actual milk that there is in the container, right? It's pretty low compared to powdered milk, which is just dried up milk, right? It doesn't have to go through many processes. It's easy to store. It doesn't go bad. It's easy to prepare. Just put the milk, put some water, and there you have it. If you don't like the taste of powdered milk, you can put some flavorings in, or you can add it to your smoothies, right? It's very versatile. It's cheaper than liquid milks, eggs, and protein powder, as I said, and it has a lot of nutrients. Okay, it has calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin A as their main like micronutrients, but it has in general a nice micro profile. It also has quick digesting sugars, high quality protein, and again a lot of nutrients. So it's amazing as a pre-workout, as a post-workout. So yeah, I would recommend get your powdered milk. Don't stop buying liquid milk. Get your powdered milk. That's going to be way better. And again, you can use it as a replacement to protein powder. The next one is going to be legumes. Okay, So legumes are like plant foods, so of course they're packed with nutrients, fiber, and slow digesting carbs. They're cheap again, or all like plant foods are usually cheap unless it's like again hyped up food or stuff that is high in water content. But usually like dry plant food, like again legumes, rice, stuff like that, is super cheap because it's super easy to store. So I would say that if you're planning on buying rice, right, I would say don't do it unless it's for a taste kind of stuff. I would say if you're going for a carb source, I would go for legumes, peas, lentils, beans, because they have a lot more nutrition, right? A lot more nutrition compared like just beans and rice. For example, you'll see that beans are not only higher in protein, they are also higher in folate and in all the vitamins and all the minerals, right? It's insane. So if you're looking for a carb source, first go with legumes. If you don't like them, go with rice. Then we have peanuts. Okay, nuts are usually like super overhyped. I would say. Oh yeah, you have to get your nuts to. You have to get some nuts to get your fatty acids, right? And also nuts have a lot of protein. That's like the conventional wisdom you'll hear a lot. I would say bullshit. Nuts are not high in protein. Peanuts are not high in protein either, but they are higher in protein than nuts, and they have a better amino acid profile compared to nuts. And on top of that, they are like denser in terms of nutrients, unless you're talking about a very specific type of nut, right? That didn't come out as the way as I intended, but you get what I mean. And it's a good way to add calories, right? Both lentils, beans, peas. Peas not so much, but lentils, beans, and peanuts are very calorie dense, so they are great if you're bulking because you not only get a lot of micros, you also get a lot of macros. The next one is going to be liver. What's up, primals? So liver is filled with every single nutrient, okay? Every single one. Like it's a we talked about superfoods. Well, this one is an actual superfood, and as you know, a lot of people don't know about it. The only reason that liver became mainstream, right, was because of our Lord and Savior Liver King with his ab implants and his tremboloni sandwiches, right? But outside of that, people don't usually consume liver, but it actually like there's a grain of truth in what Liver King says. Don't eat it raw, okay? But like cook it, learn to cook it, and you'll have a food that is like super high in protein and super high in everything, not just like a one specific protein. Although vitamin A is like the predominant protein, the predominant vitamin, sorry, and iron is like the primary micronutrient on liver. Don't overdo it, of course, because you may get vitamin toxicity. That's how high in vitamins is. Um, and again, taste is a big issue, so learn to cook it. Also, it's a cheap ass cut. Okay, I compare it to soy in terms of costs, right? Now we go to onions and garlic. NH's favorites, I would say. They have a lot of antioxidants, helps with blood flow and autoimmunity. They're versatile. You can add it to basically any dish. That's true. You can make liver and onions, right? That's a pretty common dish, and it's pretty good tasting. I would say that's how I eat liver. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to eat it. They can be stored for a long while, yeah, because onions and garlic are pretty acidic, so not a lot of microorganisms are going to develop there. They're cheap. The only issue is the smell, or if you have digestive issues, but mainly the smell for most people. If you eat a lot of it, you're going to get that onion and garlic smell in your sweat and everything. So it impregnates your whole persona, no, your whole being, right, your whole self. So beware of that. The sixth one is going to be cabbage, right? Cabbage is, in my opinion, a very underrated food. It usually gets overshadowed by its more popular alternative, which is like lettuce or broccoli, if you want to, if you're talking about cruciferous vegetables. But cabbage is actually pretty good and fucking cheap. You can get a huge cabbage by minimal amounts of money. And it's again full of nutrients. You can get everything you need in plant form, of course, which is less bioavailable. But you can get basically everything you need from cabbage. It's super high in vitamin K and calcium and in fiber. If the LC lettuce. I actually made this PowerPoint presentation a couple of months ago. I reading it again and I'm laughing out loud. Um, but yeah, like you'll see a lot of people eating iceberg lettuce mainly, and it doesn't have a lot of nutrients. It's just water or fiber. Cabbage is the same thing, but it's loaded with antioxidants and with micros, right? So get cabbage, specifically red cabbage, which is a little bit more expensive than the red one because it's super high in antioxidants. But the white cabbage is also good. It's also better tasting. So yeah, choose your favorite cabbage and eat it as you wish. The seventh one is going to be carrots. They're super high in vitamin A, E, and K, filled with antioxidants and fiber, the same as cabbage. They are super versatile because you can use it on whatever thing you're doing, right? If you have an air fryer, you can cut the carrots in like fry size. You can put it in the air fryer and you have like carrot fries, if you will. Um, you can shred it to use it on salads. You can cut it up and use it on stews if you're winter bulking. Um, I would say it's a beginner's vegetable because most people um, will be won't be disgusted by carrots, right? Most people don't like. It's a pretty accessible food. You'll see a lot of grown men, right, that don't want to eat their vegetables, or some teenagers that don't want to eat their vegetables. Um, so carrots are a pretty good way of starting with the process of cleaning your diet, right? Again, it's fucking cheap, it's easy on the stomach, and the only issue is that they get like shriveled up and fucked up if you store them for too long. So I would say don't go overboard with buying a shit ton of carrots if you're not going to eat them. Although if you meal prep, go ahead. Then the eighth one is going to be beef shank, or how we call it in my country, osobuco. It basically is that part is the leg of the animal that is toughest. Okay, it has the bone marrow because when they cut it up, they cut the bone too, and you have the bone marrow right there, and it's full of bioavailable nutrients. Right there is fucking bone marrow, right? So I would say if you don't have cholesterol problems, if you don't have cholesterol problems, either genetically or like you yourself, like you're a deviant from your family and you have cholesterol issues, I would say, unless that's the case, consume bone marrow, always eat it because it's full of nutrients, okay? It's amazing for stews, right? Basically, when you are in winter, you can like just put it there with a couple of carrots, with maybe some other vegetables, right? And you leave it there. If you have a pressure cooker, even better. And you leave it there, and when you come back, you have a nice meal to eat, and it's super tasty. Okay, super approachable. Also, pulco. It's not like liver, right? It's actually really good, really tasty. Again, it's a very tough cut, so you have to prepare it in that specific way. You don't you don't pan sear a fucking ossobuco and eat it like that. You're going to rip your teeth out. If you take out the bone marrow, though, you get as much protein per calorie as chicken breast. So in 100 grams of pure ossobuco meat, you get the same as in a chicken breast, right? So it's pretty amazing. It's a really nice source of protein. And I would say it's even better because red meat has a lot more nutrition than chicken meat. So keep that in mind. Because the way you prepare it, it makes it super easy to digest. Okay, you have to keep in mind digestion always because you're eating high amounts of food, right? To bulk, and it can put a lot of strain on your stomach, right? So it's always important to keep in mind the digestion aspect. Then we have potatoes and brown rice, an amazing carb source. Both of them full of minerals. They're versatile for stews mostly. In terms of potatoes and from brown rice, you can eat with whatever. They're easy to store, and they're very easy to digest. So make of that what you will. Then as number 10, we have ricotta cheese and cottage cheese, non-fat, low fat, or whole fat. Doesn't really matter. They have the same benefits of spouted milk, except the storage one, because they have to be stored in the fridge. But outside of that, then we have as the last one, wild caught fish, fresh or frozen. Wild caught fish, if you buy it locally, is one of the best foods you can buy because unless you live in a very like polluted environment, so I would avoid it if that's the case. Unless that's what's happening, white cod fish is amazing because it's super high in protein. It's full of omega-3 fatty acids, which in a bioavailable form too. Because if you eat like chia seeds, right, you're not really getting a lot of nutrition from a lot of omega-3s from the chia seeds because your body has to convert the plant form of omega-3s to the animal version, and that conversion rate is like 2% tops. I think it's like 0.2%. I remember a while ago while I was researching, it was like super low. Okay, but the fish version is like super bioavailable. So if you need to get your, if you need to, or if you want to lower your risk of heart disease and you want to um, get like a good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, get wild caught fish because farmed fish actually is super high in omega-6. So I wouldn't recommend eating farmed fish. I would recommend eating just wild caught, which is usually even cheaper than farmed fish. So keep that in mind. And that's the whole thing. I hope this helps you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me throughout the whole video. And leave me your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to ask anything else, of course, as always. And yeah, see you guys.